Welcome to the Dream Mason Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Terranova. A Dream Mason is a person who's brave enough to declare they have a dream and committed enough to do the work to build it. I know we all have a Dream Mason inside of us, and my dream for this podcast is to support us by giving us a glimpse inside the hearts and minds of leaders, creators, and innovators to help us unleash our inner Dream Mason. Because your dreams don't build themselves. What's up, Emily? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. I love that you're outside and I look orange.
It's so beautiful here in New Jersey today. So I apologize if you hear any background noise. There apparently is someone now sawing in the background.
No, it's okay. I think we're good. I think we're all right. So let me introduce you, because I obviously know you really well. So Emily Golden is a mom, a wife, a coach. You run 2 businesses. To me, you're brilliant. You're a powerhouse. You're love, your connection, your support. You're a yogi. But most of all, like, you are someone who constantly overcomes obstacles. And we could talk about obstacles that you overcome in terms of jobs and work. But I talk about that all the time on the Dream Mason podcast. And I'm actually excited to have you on here. And you and I have talked about this because the obstacle that you're currently working with and overcoming is a well-being or health obstacle. And I think that, like, who doesn't know somebody who has a well-being or health obstacle? And for most people, or maybe not most, but so many, it like stops people dead in their tracks. And you are continuing to power your life forward, whether it be as a mom, as a wife, as a holding a family together, or in your businesses. And I would love to dive into that conversation.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I really appreciate your introduction, and I really appreciate this conversation. So I have a degenerative spinal condition. So I was born missing 6 discs in my cervical and thoracic spine. And my whole life, I've been kind of just like, it looks like I've had a stiff neck. It hasn't really impacted me to the extent that it is now impacting me as I'm aging. So I deal with chronic pain. I also deal with some other symptoms like dizziness sometimes, and just like sensations throughout my body. It's my spinal cord. So like, obviously, like my spine and all of that is impacted. So it's definitely part of my life. And it's part of me, just like my hair, you know, it's as interwoven into my being as everything else about me.
How do you, well, let's talk about, before we get all into this, let's like, what are the things that you're up to? So people actually get an idea of all the things that your life is very full.
Yes.
So let's just talk about your life in general and describe like all the different facets of it. And then we can get into how this comes into play.
Totally. Yes, I have a very full life. I am the mom of 2 children. I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. He just celebrated his birthday. And my children are amazing, and they also both have special needs, which it kind of adds to maybe some of the complication in life, but it's also much of the gift that they are to me. So I am married. We have a house. We have the proverbial white picket fence, and you know, a truly, truly, truly full life. I run 2 businesses. My husband works full time, and our kids are off in a million different directions doing the things kids do, sports and different activities, but then also obviously having special needs. They require sometimes, you know, going to different appointments and therapies. And so life is truly full. I also am very, and this is something that I think is part of what has me be successful and move through the obstacles that are put in front of me. I'm very clear about the need for my own time and my own space. So I walk frequently. I have a dog and we go on long walks together. And I also practice yoga, and I'll do one of those every day and sometimes both, you know, in order to support me.
Wow. There's a lot.
Yeah.
If all those things, any of those things could be enough, right, in itself, like 2 kids could be enough, 2 careers could be enough, right. A dog barking could be enough.
Right. There he goes.
What are the big, because look, this podcast is all about dreams and how do you get to your dreams. So what are your visions for the future? What are the goals that you're trying to create and produce in your life?
Yeah. So hopefully my dog won't keep up barking too much longer. So what are my goals and my dreams? I would say in many ways I'm living my dream today. And part of that is running 2 businesses that are truly soul-based passion businesses. I'm a coach, and one of my businesses is really about coaching professionals, leadership coaching, executive coaching. And then the other business that I have is really focused on coaching moms around their perfectionist tendencies and limiting beliefs. So I would say that part of my vision is really the life that I'm living, and continuing to grow that and to just really empower how I can set my life up. I think the vision is also this flexible life where I'm not beholden to a certain schedule. I can have flexibility so that I can be available to my family. You know, ultimately, my vision as a mom is to raise children that are satisfied with their life, that are up to their own passion projects, and that really truly enjoy life, and that they know and that they see that anything is possible. So you know, that's also part of my vision. Another piece of my vision is to be a role model, of truly what's possible, not just as a mom, but as a woman and as a woman running businesses, like that it is possible to create what you desire, and that I'm living proof of it. And in many ways, like with, you know, every challenge that gets put in front of me, it's just more fuel for wanting to create and to move through that, in service of living my best life. So in long and short, that's my vision. I'm living it.
Nice. And I know you mentioned it kind of, but you didn't really dive in, and you just created a program, essentially. We didn't just create it, but you created a program, Dethroning Your Inner Critic, right?
Yep. So I'm in partnership with a therapist who created this idea of dethroning your inner critic, and she and I came together, and we've created a movement, actually. We've been working together for about a year, and it started off 1 day a week, and then it became 2 days a week. And now we're actually working together 3 days a week, and we're co-creating something that is scalable, and it's true. It's connected to everything that we are. Like, we found each other, and there was kind of this cosmic connection. Like, we realized that the work that we're up to is so similar, and yet there's so many differences that we can bring to the partnership.
What is tell me about, like, dethroning your inner critic?
Yeah. So dethroning your inner critic is, we do training programs, we do, and training programs in person, and we do them online. We train women in how to identify and separate themselves from the inner critic, the voice, the judgmental, the harsh, critical voice that lives inside their head, that keeps them safe and small, or that keeps them living a life that is okay, that is fine. Like, we say fine is a dirty word. You know, we want our clients to be living great lives. So we also do private coaching, we do group coaching, and we are really excited. Last week we rolled out a membership community, which is a way to become a part of Dethroning Your Inner Critic and be part of this movement and to be part of a group of women that are really supporting each other to be their highest and best in a kind of in your own time. And the community is, it's shaping up to look really amazing. So, and honestly, all of it is possible because we have empowered support. And I would say that if I had to summarize what has my life working the way that it does, is the support that I have. And that didn't just come, like that took a lot of intention to create.
I love that your dog is trying to make a guest appearance.
My dog actually is also a coach. You might not know that.
He coaches dogs how to live their best life.
He's a coach. He coaches on living from essence and authentic self.
So I want to touch on this because I think it doesn't just apply to women. You spoke about it a lot to women. Like I refer to that, my inner critic it's like more man speak. It's just like, he's a hater. He's just a dick in my head who doesn't say nice things to me, who tells me I'm not good enough, who tells me I'm out of shape, or I'm not good looking enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I don't have enough clients, or this podcast isn't going, like it literally is a nonstop. And the thing that I'm present to is this is an every person conversation. If you don't have an inner critic, you're literally, I mean, you might as well die and get resurrected because I mean, there's something very special about you. So it's an everybody conversation. So it's really cool you're doing this. I know that I love hearing about the inner critic work because you inspired me I'm working with somebody who actually lives in Cherry Hill, New Jersey right now also. Maybe you guys are neighbors, on creating a program for men that is not the same, but I think that you paved a little path for me to see like what was possible. So
that's so cool. Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, a symptom of this disease called humanity, and it's not a disease, but being human is having an inner critic. Joanna and I are specifically focused on women and specifically, working with moms. And we constantly are asked by their spouses, their partners, or just men, like, when are you doing dethroning your inner critic course for men? But it truly is, the inner critic is born of protecting you. It's a fear-based conversation in your head that actually thinks that it's keeping you safe.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard it. I did a whole podcast on the evolution of the brain. But I don't know, it was probably like around number 15 or 20, somewhere in that. But it was like your brain is basically, it's titled like your brain is your number one obstacle. And the whole thing was about how the brain evolved as the reptilian brain to the mammalian brain to the human brain. And that inner critic goes to the reptilian brain. It's all about, we think it's about keeping us alive, but we're not in actual, look, if you live in a war-torn country or in an actual dangerous situation, your reptilian brain is probably is keeping you alive. I would even venture to say, if you were in a very serious domestic violence situation, your reptilian brain has you survive. But for most of us, that's not our everyday conversation. For most of us, the things that our brain is telling us is totally fabricated and isn't serving us at all.
It's so incredible because one of the things that in the work I do, both in my private practice and in my dethroning practice, is support people to sink into their heart more, right? Because the answers are there. The answers are inside of your heart. And on Thursday, I had the honor of seeing Tony Robbins. He came to Philadelphia. He spent like 4 hours with an audience of people. And oh my gosh, he said the most powerful thing. He said, what's the sign that something's alive? What's the very first sign? And, of course, everyone said a heartbeat. And he said the heart beats before the brain is formed. And gosh, that is so simple and so powerful, right? Yet we live so much of our lives from our head.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are the heartbeats before the brain is formed?
Yeah. Like something like that, like before the mind like takes over. Like his whole thing is like, kind of like separating yourself from your mind. Like your mind is your greatest obstacle and is like the thing that it gets confusing. You know, we think that we need to be listening to that voice all the time.
Yeah. And I think I want to lead this. Let's lead this into like the obstacle that you're facing. I actually think we were talking about this weekend, that our mind actually creates physical problems in a way to like mess with us. So I know that there was a time almost a year ago where I had a lot of stress. I was like, felt like I was carrying a lot of weight on my shoulders. I felt like people were depending on me. And I constantly had back of the neck and shoulder issues. Like I couldn't let it go. And over the course of the last 9 months, as I've like let all that go, I didn't do any special exercises. I didn't change anything. I just let that go. And all of a sudden I don't have that pain anymore. And I was sharing with you, like recently, I have been having a ton of like heel and arch pain. And it's funny because if you look at my life, I'm like jet setting, I'm all over. I don't have like I'm not homeless. I have places to live, but I'm changing where I live like every month. I'm renting a different place. I'm living with different people. I'm moving all over. And the thing I don't have, even though I think I'm a very naturally grounded person, I don't have a lot of grounding and stability. And I think it's interesting that my ankles and my feet are just kind of like sore and irritable. It's kind of like, what is going on with that? And I believe it's there. It's the subconscious mind is playing that part. And I actually have to separate myself from that. Part of healing my feet and my ankles is actually separating myself from these thoughts that I'm not grounded, because I can be grounded anywhere. I don't need to have a traditional life to be grounded.
Really powerful.
What do you see in that tell us a little about like what you're going through? And
yeah. So if you can imagine, because I'm missing 6 discs, it's like a lot of bony mass in my neck and, upper spine. And so my body is always trying to correct itself. And my head isn't exactly on straight. So it might look like I'm cocking my head, but that's actually straight for me. And so my body is kind of, I think of it like it's in a heightened sense of like state of protection all the time. And I do know that when there is more stress in my life, when, there's business stress or stress at home, or, that my symptoms absolutely positively flare up. There is no question. I think that there's a part of me that wants to be like, well, this thing that I have, it's like a structural deformity. It's something that I was born with. And the symptoms are super real. And yes, they are. And for anyone that has a chronic condition, of course. And I think there's something for all of us to tune into when our symptoms flare, to look at the connection to the mind, right? Like for years and years and years, Alex, I just operated on top of the fact that I had this condition. And in fact, I didn't even talk about it. Like some of the people closest to me didn't know anything about it. My girlfriends from college, who I lived with for 3 years, and then we lived together after college, and they're still my best friends. Like they now know the extent of what I deal with, but there was no reason to, and I never wanted to be the case that like people felt bad for, or would treat me differently. But as I've done my own work and really gotten clear on who I am in this world and my own truth, I realize that it's actually a barrier to intimacy when I'm not showing up and sharing that I've got this thing. And, this thing does have an impact in my life. And in many ways, I noticed that I'd set my life up to keep me safe. My inner critic, because I was like, well, I have this physical thing. So, I'm just going to protect myself, but I'm not going to talk about it. And it just got to a point where it was super weird. And about a year ago, I basically declared, in the words of coaching, a breakdown in how I was relating to myself and how I was relating to my body, and that I was no longer going to keep it to myself, and I was going to share. And it's been amazing, because not only have I shared with my friends and those people in my community, but I've also shared with my clients. And I had this thought, this inner critic voice, that they'd be like, oh, well, I can't, if you're not well, like I can't be working with you, or how much are you going to be able to support me if you're not well? And they've been amazing. And it's actually created a new level, I would say, of intimacy with many of my clients who I've been working with for quite some time. So I don't know if that answered the question about but like the connection between the mind and the body is so super, super important to recognize.
Yeah. Yeah. What about, how does this actually impact you? Let's talk about the ways that it is literally impacting all the things in your life. Like, what are the talent? Because this is the thing, right? People have whatever, whether they have cancer or a physical like ailment that causes pain. There's people that have, I mean, I always think fibromyalgia is like the craziest thing because like they don't even know what it like almost is, and yet people just have pain. But everybody, I mean, as we get older, it's like, you know, I remember you just like, you could do anything when you were like 15 and 20. And now I like make one wrong move in the yoga class and my knee is like, I'm like, what happened? I'm 36 years old. Like, why does my knee hurt? And I think, what is it? Louis C.K. has like a joke where he's like, as you get older, he's like, you used to just like things would be wrong and then they would heal. He's like, but at some point, like you're in your 40s and you go to the doctor and the doctor's just like, no, your knee's just bad now. You just have like a bad knee. It's not getting better. It's
right.
So how does this stuff impact you on a daily basis?
So I'm going to start with like going to sleep. So going to sleep I've never had a problem sleeping. However, as I've gotten older, I have a buildup of pressure actually, because my neck is not, the doctor explained it kind of like, your neck is a drainage pipe. Like if you were to think of it like a sink with a pipe. Okay. So there's actually a buildup of pressure because there's a buildup of fluid, and we're working on getting to the bottom of it. I have a test later this week, and I have faith that we're going to figure it out. But I basically, when I lay down at night, my head and my ears, there's pounding. So, okay, I do my meditation. Sometimes I'll talk about it with my husband, or sometimes I'll read, but I fall asleep. And then at least once a night I wake up. Sometimes I can't feel my arms. And that's always scary. And I'm used to it at this point I don't get as scared as I used to, but when this first started happening about a year ago, it really started to get scary. And I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, okay, I can't move. And then I'd get the sensation back. And then I'd go to the bathroom and I'd try to calm myself down, but I was like panicking inside, right? I had a bunch of tests, and they were like, you know, the doctors explained to me what's going on. You know, I have some, where I'm not fused, there's some herniations and whatnot that can be explaining this sensation, this phenomenon. I'm no longer as scared, but it does interrupt me. So my sleep is interrupted, and the loss of sensation is weird. It's very strange because like I'll lose sensation in both of my arms or one of my arms, and only my left toes. It's very interesting. And when I can take a step back and not be freaked out by it, I'm like, how amazing is this thing we call our body? Like that it's like, I can actually feel my knee, but I can't feel my toes. It's strange. But it's also amazing. I would say the condition. Yeah.
Well, I want to know so this is a great place. Like, right. Sleep is huge. Mm-hmm. There's people that have anyone that suffers from pain is going to have issues sleeping. And a lot of people that have issues with sleep then use it as a way to prevent them from living a great life in the rest of their life. And that's the thing that's awesome about like you in this situation is you could wake up and go, I'm going to half-ass being a mom. I'm just going to make sure they get to school. I could half-ass being a wife. I could half-ass my practice. And you're literally keep building. So how are you not letting this sleep thing, like how are you able to overcome this?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a few things. One is, again, everyone in my life knows what's going on. And there are times that I will have to say to a client, look, I really didn't sleep last night and I'm not going to, we need to reschedule, or, my girlfriends all know what's going on. So if we have plans and I have to cancel, we have a kind of an agreement that, all right, Emily needs her sleep because she's got life to live. So one thing is just building in buffers. And I think a really important piece of that, especially for an A-type personality like me, is to have forgiveness, like self-forgiveness when I am so fatigued that I just can't move. And incredibly, because our bodies are incredible, my mind will actually sometimes just shut off. Like we went to Tony Robbins on Thursday. It was a very, very long day. On Friday, I was working with my business partner. And at one point I turned to her and I was like, I'm not sure that this is working today. She's like, what do you need? I'm like, I need a nap. It turns out I actually didn't take a nap. I got super sourced and energized by my daughter because she came home from school and we decided to do something together. So I think, in answer to the question, it's honoring myself. It's recognizing, do I really need the sleep? Is it truly what my body is needing? Or is it that I think I need sleep because I didn't sleep great last night? And then trusting that I can catch up on my sleep. Also, empowering my husband to take care of things when they need to be taken care of. There are times that I'll have a really rough night and it's an unspoken thing. He knows I need to sleep in, and he'll take care of the kids, get them off, and then he'll check in on me later in the day. And I always bounce back up. I just love life. Like I'm just so committed to just being and being alive and being up.
Yeah.
I have this thing, unless and until my body can't do it anymore, I will go and go.
I was just thinking today, I woke up and I was very, I had a lot of I've been hearing so many people in the world talk about wanting to sleep more, be in bed more. I wish I just didn't have to get out of bed. And for some reason this morning I was overcome with this. It was making me angry. These voices in my head.
That people that you wanted to stay in bed, or that people want to
No, that people want to. Because yes, sleep is necessary, but it hit me in this place that I realized if you want to stay in bed, you're not living a great life. Because a great life doesn't happen in bed. I mean, unless somebody else is joining you in that bed and but I want to go to sleep more. Or I wish I could just be in my bed, or I don't want to get out of bed and do you're not, it's a great sign. It doesn't mean you're depressed, but it's a great sign that you're not loving your life. You're not passionate about your life. And I noticed it's in contrast to the weekend, right? People hate Mondays, but if you love your life, you love Monday. Because I see the weekends as a way to let go, to source me back. So I shoot into Monday super empowered. So Monday becomes the jumping off point to all the things that I'm creating. But you actually have to love your life to do that. And I hear that in what you're saying is, because you love life, you actually, and because you've created a life that you love, this didn't happen by accident. You literally created the children, and you continue to help them create their lives. You created the relationship with your husband. You created your businesses. You created this business partner. You created Tony Robbins, not him, but going to the event.
Yeah.
But it has you over that. It seems like that, getting supported, sharing, getting your needs met, and then having a life that you're excited to get into.
Yeah.
It seems like that I hear, because the question I was going to ask you was, how do you know the difference between I need sleep as a way to stop you and I need sleep because you actually need it? And go ahead.
So I was actually, we're so connected, because I was just thinking about that. I was thinking that on Saturday night we had gone out. We were at a big event, and I had set my intention that I was going to sleep in on Sunday because I could, and I knew that it would be good for my body. I was going to be up later than usual. And when yesterday morning rolled around, I was like, okay, I'm just going to lay. I woke up, but I was like, I'll just lay here because I can. And I felt this internal tug to get out of bed. And I think that it's I could choose to ignore that and be like, it's more comfortable and safe. And, I might be in pain when I get up, but I always know that I feel better when I get up, when that, it's literally, I think it's just an inner knowing. I think it's an inner knowing the times that I just need to pass out and sleep. And then the times that laying in bed is not serving me at all.
So it's learning to trust yourself, which is, I think it's one of the biggest challenges in any relationship with ourselves, because so many of us lack personal integrity. And I mean that, I don't mean that as like people hear that and they're like, you know, they might be offended. Like people don't, personal integrity, just doing what you say you're going to do and being the person you say versus like, you're bad. It's not that kind of conversation. Yeah. But you have commitments, and that's the integrity, is that and it sounds like you've created commitments you love. They're not just like, oh, I have to do this thing.
Right. And, you know, I think it's also when you're dealing with a chronic condition, there's really an urgency to live. Like there really is an urgency for me to live my life in truth, in integrity with myself, because I don't know, like we never know what tomorrow is going to bring. But when I see a doctor look at my films and then look at me and then look at my films, like my MRI, whatever, or my CAT scan, they're always amazed. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. Like I live this life because I just don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But I'm empowered around it. I'm not scared about it. I'm empowered around it. And it has actually supported me to take some risks, to leave my full-time job, which was someone else's great dream. I had a great job working from home. I was, you know, leading a talent acquisition function for a $3 billion chemical company. It was a great job. It wasn't for me though. Like it wasn't my heart. And I think knowing my own physical stuff, it was like, if you don't do this now, when are you going to do it?
I love that. It's all like I hear, and all of that is just like all about choice, right? Like you could choose to let it all bring you down. You could choose to see the doctor looking at the x-rays and be like, oh my God, I'm like a disaster. But you actually flip it. It's so cool how you do that. It's kind of like, yeah, hell yeah, that's me. And look at this. I'm crushing it. Right. And yet you don't even, it doesn't even make sense. Right. You're like a superhero.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it's funny. I remember that. I remember when you left that job, and the person that it required you to be to step up to do that was like a vastly different person than the one I originally met. It like required you to like own your superpowers, your greatness.
Yeah. So scary.
How did that? I guess like how have all the things in your life actually supported you to like overcome this new obstacle?
You know, I always say, like, sometimes when I start working with a new client, they'll say, like, I just really want confidence. And I just want to work with you so I can figure out how to get confidence. And I'm like, you know, confidence doesn't come from feeling good and then you take risks. Confidence comes from taking risks and overcoming obstacles and knowing that you can, right? So if you look at, actually, if I look at my life, like I was born, although my parents didn't know really what was going on, I couldn't move my head off my shoulder until I was about the age of 1. My parents were very scared when I was born because it looked like there was something really wrong. And I do believe that, although I don't remember this, I do believe that I picked up on their energy about it. And, you know, I overcame that. Then I had learning differences and I overcame that. And then, of course, there was like, you know, the standard things that you go through in high school, like socially, those challenges. And it was at that time that my mom became very, very ill. To the point that we thought a number of times we were going to lose her. And knock wood, she's amazing and she's a fighter and she's really modeled for me what courage looks like. But, you know, and I would say that how has all of this prepared me? It's shown, like, I know I have a tremendous amount of confidence in my ability to overcome and my courage and just have courage. So I guess it's the past that is the thing that's really informing that I can be with all of this. And that, like, I'm not a particularly religious person, but I am quite spiritual. And I do believe that the universe is giving me all of this because it's like, it's meant for me. Like, and it's meant for like the goodness that I can create from it and then share with the rest of the world. So yeah, I think it's just the past stuff and learning really not how to, like, learning how to be with all that past stuff and all the current stuff, but not be like struggling in the face of it. And, you know, that's not always an automatic. I can go into that struggle place, right? We all can, the suffering and the struggle. And I feel my best when I'm able to stand on this side of the courage and facing the fear.
I love that too, because we can use our past against us or we can use it for us, right? Like, and so many of us use the past against ourselves. Well, I'm not going to do this because this is how it went. I mean, this is what we do with our clients, right? And you just got me present to, I never think of, I'm actually usually trying to pass down, like associated with it at all, because it's not real anymore. To me, it's like irrelevant, but this is just a different way to look at it, as in you can actually use the past to push you forward versus it pulling you back.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't heard anybody say it kind of like, or heard it the way you said it, which is really, really cool. It's just a different opportunity to use the past as a way to support you.
Mm-hmm.
What would you give people that are suffering from really serious things to really minor things? You know, what would you give them as practices, as tools, as resources to help them not let this thing be the thing that stops them from going after an audacious dream?
Yeah. So what I would give them, so I'm thinking of some clients that I've worked with who have chronic conditions, who have been kind of in the I'm fine place, which I relate to because that's like how I was doing it. So my guidance to those people is to be real with yourself and be real with the people in your life about what you're experiencing, and to know that when you operate on top of it and make like it's okay to convince yourself it's okay, it's not actually okay. Like, you're not being honest with yourself and you're not being honest with the people in your life. And as scary as it may be to admit that there's something that's, you know, that you're experiencing these challenges, there's so much beauty in it, and there's so much freedom in just, again, speaking your truth. The other thing I would say to those people and to people who are, you know, fully open about the fact that they've got something and they don't know how to deal with it, is to live your life with a sense of urgency. Like, tomorrow could be the last day. Like, we don't know. And you have been put on this planet for a reason, like to do whatever the work is that you've been put on this planet to do. And if you can embody that, there's nothing, no physical limitation that that has to stand in your way. It's only if you choose for it to stand in your way. And if that's the place that you're in, give me a ring, because I don't want to see anyone squandering their life because their body is in pain, or, you know, they have those challenges. There's always support available. That's
great. That's beautiful. So now I don't know if you can hear it. Now I have a barking dog. He's getting ready. He's huffing and puffing.
I can't.
You just rattled him. He just got inspired.
He totally he got inspired. I love it.
It's like, I'm not going to let any of my physical pain.
Right.
What about somebody who I want to say is like at rock bottom with their physical, like they're like hanging on, in the sense of they're in so much pain that they kind of just struggle in so they hear this and they're like, yeah, I mean, you're still moving around, you're like still going to yoga, like I can barely get out of bed in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where would you give them as a place to just start, right? Because we can't jump all the way to the end.
So that's a really great point. First off, when you are in tremendous pain, it is very hard to think. You're not thinking clearly, right? It's like, it's cloudy. So again, I'm going to point to a place of getting supported. And that means being wildly, radically like out there looking for a doctor or some sort of healer to get you back to homeostasis, get you back to a place where you are feeling, you know, strong enough. I recently went to an integrative doctor, and I've seen a number of different doctors, and she just was like, it's not acceptable that you would be living your life in pain. Like, we are going to take care of that. And if it's not me, it's going to be someone else. So please don't ever stop. So I would say that please don't ever stop. And I would say, getting yourself supported and really recognizing if you're isolating yourself because you feel like you're broken or you feel like, it's never going to get better. Reach out a hand, and, people want to help people. Like, that's just what we're humans. Most humans want to help other humans.
I love, there's something you just said. I don't know how you said it, but it just made me think of like the meaning that we make it. So you could be in bed, riddled in pain, and your mind's saying that you're broken or that you're not good enough or that you're not worthy or whatever the conversation is, which is all made up meaning. The fact is, you're in pain and things hurt, and maybe some things don't work as they quote unquote are supposed to, but all those other things are the meaning that we add on to them. And I think that those things become more disempowering than the actual physical pain can. Because I love that, like, that willingness to keep going. Because we all know people who have something wrong and they stop at like the first doctor that says, this is the thing, or here, pop this pill, or do this. And they don't relentlessly go, no, that's not acceptable. I want more. I mean, this is not, I've been fortunate enough to not have like any super serious physically in that. I had like my learning disabilities as a kid. And I think I actually learned from my mom. She was like relentless in not stopping to get me the support I need so I could be successful in life. And I think for me, I'll have like lots of like little injuries and things, but nothing serious. But at one point for a really long time, I was always having stomach pains. I always had stomach aches. I was always uncomfortable. And doctor after doctor would like do another test and nothing's wrong. And maybe don't eat this and maybe don't eat that, but nothing would change. And it was okay, right? It wasn't like stopping me. It was just uncomfortable. But I think I learned from my mom to keep looking for a thing. So all of a sudden I found my way to like this Eastern herbalist acupuncturist, which was just like, I'll just try another thing because what's it going to hurt? Right. And it changed everything. I mean, it completely, first of all, I got to see that a lot of it was stress. She actually had me look at it from a new place. Like, yes, there's some physical stuff, but notice every time you get stressed, you feel it in your stomach. So she did some work physically, and then we created some things to like actually look at it from that place instead of it just all being kind of held in there. So it's a really cool point. I love that, like, just keep going, keep looking. Somebody has something for you that you just haven't found yet.
Right. Focus on the times that you've been surprised because you kept going and you didn't, and you found something, rather than all the, 20 doctors that you've seen that haven't been able to help you, whatever it is. Yeah, I think, that's huge. And I'm like you, my mom was relentless in getting me the support I needed for my learning stuff. And thankfully she taught me that. And I am absolutely relentless when it comes to getting my kids the support that they need.
Yeah. I got one last thing for you before we wrap this up, because you talked a lot about support today. And I think you and I, we've been trained, like we know how to go get it. We went through rigorous training to learn how to be supported and get support. And we're still learning, right? We can all continue to get better and get more and more support. And you and I now know that, like, when you call me for support or when I call you, it's actually not a chore or a burden. It's like a pleasure. Like we get something ourselves from it. And what would you give to people that like either think they're going to be a burden, or like they don't want to put that on people, or I don't have anyone to ask?
First of all, that's your inner critic, trying to just protect you from potentially being rejected. And it's a normal, to normalize it, that's a normal thought. And it feels so freaking good to support someone. Like, imagine that you're giving the person's giving you a gift and you're giving that person a gift, right? Like, when we care about someone, and we all have someone out there that cares about us and that we care about, like, I mean, I would say most people, like, it's a human need, right? To be there. And I will be as outrageous as I need to be to get myself this support. I was having a rough day yesterday. I reached out to you. I reached out to, you know, a number of different people that I knew would support me. And I asked them for what I needed. And that is something I had to train myself on, because I did grow up thinking that I could do it separate and alone and I would be fine, you know? So I think it is a gift. When you can allow someone in, it creates a new level of intimacy.
Yeah, we make meaning out of that too, right? Like the idea of needing to ask. You said something about the inner critic. So when I was doing all this brain research, one of the things I learned was that our brains, because as early humans, if we got cast out of the group, we couldn't survive, right? You couldn't survive 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, like on your own. Now you could today, you could totally survive today. But as human beings, we need to be in groups. We need to be accepted. So the fear of being not accepted or as part of a group actually triggers the reptilian brain to go crazy, because the reptilian brain goes, if we're not accepted, we're actually going to die. So nuts. I'm like, that's not going to happen today, but that's the feeling, right? Like the fear of rejection, whether it's a date or it's a group or whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is a great irony. And when you are in having a medical breakdown, your body is, you that's when you need the support the most.
Emily, how do people, if people want to take your inner critic course, if people just want to reach out to support you, if people want support, if they want to know about coaching, whatever, if they want to drive your kids to, practice.
It would be great. In fact, my daughter's wanting to get picked up from school right now. So if anyone would like to do that, please. No, so
how do they reach out to you?
Yeah, you can get me at dethroningyourinnercritic.com. Or you can reach me at Emily at dethroningyourinnercritic.com. Dethroning your inner critic is just a catchy phrase, and I think people remember it. I have another business, but I would reach out to me at Emily at dethroningyourinnercritic.com. And
are you guys on social media?
We're on social media. Don't ask me what our handles are. I don't remember.
We'll figure them out. We'll figure them out and we'll put them in the show notes.
Totally. Awesome. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Hey, thanks for doing this. We're totally going to have you back on here, and we're going to talk about like all things coaching and get more specific, and you'll do some episodes of the bricks with me. But thanks for your generosity. Thanks for your time. Thanks for actually coming on and being willing to talk about something that's super personal, that's super vulnerable, that's something that's super intimate. Because me and you could have talked about anything in the world, and I really wanted to talk about this because I just think everybody's got something. And the fact that you are willing and vulnerable to share about like your own stuff and your own life and your family and how it impacts you all over is just such so generous of you to give me, the listeners, that gift. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure. I love you. It's always great to have you around. We'll talk soon. Go pick up your daughter.
Yeah, I will. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dream Mason Podcast. Please subscribe to the Dream Mason Podcast so you don't miss an episode. Share it with a friend and give us a review on iTunes. I am grateful to have had you here. If you want more, you can follow or reach out to me, Alex Terranova, on Instagram at InspirationalAlex or at TheDreamMason.com, or email me at alex@TheDreamMason.com. And remember, you are a Dream Mason because your dreams don't build themselves.